Hey everybody, this is Jordan Rudess of Dream Theater, and you are listening to Heavy Demons Radio Show. Check it out and enjoy. Bye.
Okay, Jordan, how does it feel to come back over to Europe and in Italy for this new tour?
Europe is a hot spot for Dream Theater, and Italy is probably among the hottest spots. So it's great to be here. I know the fans are really excited about everything. And we are too. And personally, I love coming to Italy because it's probably my favorite place of all the choices of where we can go. Have a lot of friends, and there's a lot of pluses, as you know. Thank you so much.
And do you find any differences in the response to the new album between, the States and Europe? Critics, audience.
You know what? This album's been very well received. But I guess the main difference that I would say is the general difference that happens all the time at the shows and even just reaction to the music, which is that, there are certain places in the world, like where we are right now, that are just more passionate about things. And especially with music that's a little bit more demanding, more challenging, that you need to invest more personal energy into to get back the satisfaction. I find that the European audiences are more willing to go along for the ride than the American audiences. That's not to say that there aren't a lot of people like in the U.S. that will go along for the ride, but I find it more happening around here.
Yeah, and this new album, the self-titled album, sees the cooperation with the Turkish musician Eren Basbug. What can you tell us about this cooperation? Is quite awesome.
Well, this has been a relationship that's been kind of brewing for years. I met Eren. I met him when somebody turned me on to some videos he was doing of Dream Theater music with orchestra in Turkey, and I reached out to him and I befriended him. At the time, he was like 18 years old, or something like that, or 17, I don't know. And I thought he was incredibly talented, and we stayed in touch. And then I had an opportunity to write a piano concerto, a keyboard concerto, and I decided that I would ask Eren if he wanted to do the orchestrations for it and work together. So Eren and I started a relationship, and we worked on this big piece of music of mine, ended up going to Venezuela together, and him conducting and orchestrating. We've stayed kind of like united and together since then. We brought him, my family kind of helped him to come to America and study at the Berkeley School. And I slowly but surely introduced him to the guys in Dream Theater, saying this is an extremely talented young man and he is capable to do all this. And the next thing you know, one step at a time, he's conducting an orchestra with Dream Theater.
Very synchronicity. That's awesome.
Yeah, just following it through,
And this is the first album with a serious creative apporto of mighty Mike Mangini. What can you tell us about this awesome drummer that is?
He's really a one-of-a-kind guy, and having him in the studio with his kind of ability and his energy was very enlivening. This managed to create an excitement in the studio that we never really had in such a way before. His technique is amazing. So him trying any ideas, he's full energy. So it really helped the compositional process and the whole feel of the record to be very strong.
And you promoted this album with streaming, on the internet. And what can you tell us about promoting this kind of music nowadays in 2014 on the web? What's changed from the past?
Well, that's such a tricky kind of a conversation. So much to that. There's just so many ways to...
It's positive and negative.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for Dream Theater, we do come up with we have some nice opportunities through streaming that I think are very helpful. So I think that for Dream Theater, the streaming thing I think is positive. Gets the music out, people can hear it and get excited and spread the word. But there's a whole lot of other sides to that, like just in brief, the bigger picture of how difficult it is for any band, like young bands especially, to use the internet to try to market themselves, because there's so many ways to stream and so many ways to do it and so many bands that it becomes a wash, like it's just impossible. But for us, for Dream Theater, we're lucky enough that we can tap into specific ways that are pretty effective.
Yeah. And what about this year saw also the release of Explorations, your latest solo release.
Yes.
Are you planning like a tour or any other side projects?
Yeah.
As Jordan.
Well, it was a big year for me, recording-wise, as you mentioned. So I put out the Explorations album, which was my first orchestral album. Very proud of it. I wrote this huge piece, which was the heart of it, Explorations for keyboard and orchestra, and Eren did the arrangements as we spoke. And this was a piece that was premiered a few years ago, but was finally recorded properly with myself in an orchestra in Poland. It was kind of related to the Symphonic Theater of Dreams, which did the Dream Theater stuff, but a different orchestra actually. So that was a huge project, which was done through Pledge Music, which is a kind of like a crowdfunding, type of business. And also, I released All That Is Now, which is a solo piano record that I did at my Steinway grand piano, and the Dream Theater thing, and the 11 Miniman Rudess album. So what's next is that actually what could be interesting to you is over the last year or so, I hooked up with an extremely talented Italian keyboardist whose name is Marco Parisi. And he and I have been kind of planning and beginning the works for a very unique kind of keyboard ensemble with myself and Marco and Eren, the Turkish conductor, because he's also a great keyboardist. So that's what we're planning.
Yeah. And what does it mean to play keyboards in 2014? You own a Moog, an original Moog keyboard, but you are so much into technology.
Yeah.
What differences do you find?
Well, what's interesting about my studio, and which is a great example of where things are at, is I have all these really cool keyboards that I love so much, physical keyboards.
Yeah.
But then when I go to actually do my work, I'm mostly focused at the computer. I'm playing on a keyboard, but one keyboard that controls everything on the computer is responsible for making most of the sounds. So that whole perspective has changed so much. I remember when a friend of mine came 4 years ago, and said, "Hey, how do you use all these keyboards in this room? You must have so much patience, to work that way." He says, I'm just dealing with my computer and I'm doing my thing. I was like, no, I love it, it's great. And maybe a year later, I started to kind of stop using all this hardware and only focus on the computer. And now I wonder, how could I have possibly done that? It was so cumbersome, so difficult. So that's what
It's different live on stage.
And okay, so live on stage is very different because a couple things. One is that, there's two reasons I use a Korg Kronos on stage right now, which is a very powerful, great instrument. Number one is because I've spent many years now programming all these sounds for Dream Theater in that environment. So for me to switch to something else, like to use a computer, is a major pain. It would take me, 1,000 hours at least to make this, to make it happen. So there's that. But also I like the idea of using an actual instrument on stage rather than a computer, because I feel like there's a bit of a relationship there between the artist and the instrument. And if I'm using a computer, maybe that would work, but I really like knowing Korg made this great thing. It's a musical instrument. I can use it. And it really does a fantastic job of allowing me to do what I want to do with this group. It seamlessly plays through hundreds and hundreds of sounds a night, just press a button, tons of different colors, sounds, effects, orchestral things, choirs, everything. So.
And what's now in the future of Dream Theater and Jordan Rudess?
Dream Theater is going to complete this world tour. We're not exactly sure where we're going to go. I know we have a show in Asia that was announced, but we're most likely going to South America, and we'll go to Asia and hopefully hit Australia. And after that's done, we'll take a little break, and then we go for we'll record another album. And hopefully in the space and time that I have, I'll be able to record some of my solo music, like the music with Marco and Eren, which the name of that group is going to be called Orchestra, with Orkeystra. So, and that's the plan. That's the plan right now. And then, of course, before you hit stop, the other thing that keeps me very busy is my app company. It's called Wisdom Music. You know, I don't know if you know, but I make apps for multi-touch platforms, iPhones, and you know other devices as well. And the new app, the newest app I had released is called Harmony Wiz. It's a really cool app that lets you input a musical line either by painting it in or by playing on the keyboard, and then after you play your one line, you hit a button, the Harmony Wiz button, and it kind of enlarges it to be something for 5 parts, different instruments. So it's kind of a little bit of a minor musical miracle. It's pretty cool.
Where can people find it on?
It's an iOS app. It's an iPad app only. And then right now I'm finishing up the final stages of something really exciting, which is an app called Jordantron. Jordantron, like a mellotron, but Jordantron. Yeah. And it features some of my grandest, biggest sounds that I play live and in the studio. So on your iPad, you'll be able to have like incredible like Jordan sounds, and all you need to do is hook up, you know, a keyboard directly to the iPad, and you're playing like, you know, my sounds, and it's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, one of the great one of the great advantages of it is that you'll be able to almost have like if I play on the Kronos and I play one of my sounds, it could be a huge layer of sound. But on here, I can have 3 of those and crossfade between them. It's pretty intense, so everybody can stay tuned for Jordantron. Sure. Yeah, so that's all the news from me.
Thank you so much, Jordan.
You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
All right, man. Cool.